There's over 1 million children right in America that are missing every year. And the CPS, or Child Protective Services, in the foster care, there's some good foster care and CPS workers, but there's a number of them that get caught in the system. And now that the borders are open, I mean, it's tragic, because a lot of the deep state or the elites, a lot of them get their financial system, they make their money through child sex trafficking.
Let me highlight something here. So because of my past, in my young 20s, I was a drug trafficker. Stole jets for the Colombian cartel, that kind of thing, and I was arrested with a stolen jet. Jet Ride to Hell, Journey to Freedom is the book, and we're getting ready to go book the movie. But the point I want to bring out is the difference between drug trafficking and sex trafficking in the financial benefit. Drug trafficking, you buy cocaine, you can cut it, whatever, sell it off, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you have to go buy more. But sex trafficking is a renewable. You can have not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day that can occur, and the next day it's again and again and again.
And I want to add something else too. With the sex trafficking, it's not just happening across the borders. If you're a parent, you need to know this, because we are getting stories that are coming back to us of children who are being trafficked.
Reputable stories.
These are reputable stories of parents whose child has been trafficked right under their nose. So their child is in high school, because they're targeting 13 to 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, boys and girls. And so what's happening is they're getting a hold of their numbers, however that's happening, gaming, Facebook, a plant in the school who's releasing and distributing that information. And so then what they do is these traffickers, they target schools, and in nice cities. This is not just a slum city. These are nice cities that this is happening in. So they'll get a hold of the student, and then they'll text them, and then they'll send them pictures of each family member at their workplace or at their school if they have a sibling, and threaten to kill them, and if they tell their parents. And so your child could be trafficked right under your nose and you don't even know. So it's very important to begin to notice and look at the phone of your child and monitor what they're doing.
Well, in my film, Freedom Crime, we have a story of a girl named Ashley that this happened to. She was 14, right under her parents' noses. She went over to a girlfriend's house, spent the night, and they snuck out at night to go to a party down the street. Well, she met, a man there, and, he was actually several years older. If someone would have pulled up to my daughter's door, years ago, I would have immediately said, sorry,
right.
You're not going to take my daughter. But these parents, good parents, still married today. But what happened for 3 months, this was a Romeo pimp. They call it Romeo pimp.
Explain what that is.
Yeah.
So Romeo pimp is a pimp or a trafficker that actually lures the girl through romance. And so you think that it's your boyfriend. And so she said one day he actually took her up into Hollywood, because it was in LA, and said, look at these mansions. We're going to have a house just like this. Now, she's 14 years old. I mean, I wasn't thinking about marriage at 14. But, he said the right words. He told her everything that she wanted to hear. And then she thought, this was my knight in shining armor.
Right.
This was my prince.
Right.
And then she said one day, all of a sudden, we're out in the park. We're just having fun like normal. And he looked at her, slapped her in the face, and said, you're going to work for me. And if you tell your parents, we'll kill you. We'll kill your family. And they can and they will. But this is the thing. You can't be afraid of what they say.
Now,
Repeat
that's
that.
exactly right.
You can't be afraid. God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. So, there's a lot of stories we could say, but a lot of ways they get them to is through the video chat games. So you're playing online, and you think you're playing with somebody your age.
Right.
But in essence, it might be a 50-year-old man or, whatever. And then they inevitably will try to get in touch with you. And I have another story of a man whose daughter he gave her a cell phone, at probably 12. He felt guilty because he just had gone through a divorce. And he said he was coming down the hallway and he heard something. He looked in her room. The window was open. And he looked out the window, and there he saw his daughter walking down the street to a car that was at the end of the street. He jumped out the window, ran down there, and punched the guy in the face. And his daughter, this girl, was getting ready to go off with a 19-year-old, kid. Well, he was still a kid, but she was only 12.
Right. Wow.
So we have to be aware. We can't be afraid. We just have to be aware of what's happening.
And once these children are brought into this and they think they're saving their parents' lives, and in some ways they are, they then give them a burner phone, the child, and then they begin to text back and forth, and they have to check in. And these burner phones are untraceable. And sadly, a lot of this is not prosecuted, and there's a layer of corruption in some of the government agencies and also in the local police. And then with the burner phones, they can't even track them. So a lot of these kids end up in some very perilous situations for a few years while they're in high school, going to school in affluent neighborhoods, highly educated, and parents that literally work in even the tech arenas and should know better. So this is happening on our watch. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's now an absolute fact.